Welcome back, Defenders. Jake here. Unfortunately, we have to continue talking about the destruction of the port city of Odesa. 2 nights ago, Russian missile attacks damaged an additional 25 historical buildings in downtown Odesa. So every night, Russia launches additional missiles and combat drones, and every morning, the residents of the city go out to sweep and clean the destruction caused from the previous night. This is heartbreaking to watch. This has been going on for 5 or 6 nights now. Russia militarily has no answer. They have no plan to defeat the Ukrainian military. All they can do is terrorism against the civilian population. So 3 nights ago, the Transfiguration Cathedral in Odesa was deliberately targeted and bombed by the Russians. This is what the cleanup process looked like.
Бесстрашно. Люди даже не хотят бояться то, что может упасть. Люди хотят навести порядок, чтобы уже к вечеру зашла. Святого Николая, давайте нашего Любчика сюда под стеночку поставим. Люди так работают организованно, так быстро. Дай Боже им всем здоровья. Посмотрите. Выходной день.
So at the moment, this is what the cathedral currently looks like.
Ну, в общем, вот он, наш Одесский собор. Как видите, полностью разрушен. Видите, здесь основная была принявшая на себя часть здания.
As you can see, it's incredibly dangerous just to be in the structure, as the roof is no longer sound. Pieces of the roof or debris could collapse at any moment. And I think it's inevitable before Russia just bombs this church again. They don't care. And even elementary schools and kindergartens have been attacked. This is what a daycare center looks like. 5 kindergartens in Odesa have been bombed by the Russians. I don't even know what to say looking at these pictures. And here's Solyov on Kremlin State TV, declaring that they're just going to destroy the entire city of Odesa.
Ракет для чего? Чтобы по Крыму долбить? Там,
конечно. Сейчас мозг перебивать, конечно.
Ну, нахрен уничтожить Киев.
Согласен?
Уничтожить Львов.
То уничтожим, давайте хотя бы там, откуда эти ракеты поступают. Там же этот переход.
А столицей сделаем Одессу,
да? Которую мы сохраним.
Нет, мы Одессу, конечно, не сохраним. Простите. Мы ее потом заново отстроим. Так будет гораздо проще. Ну, что делать? Ну, по крайней мере, портовую зону. Я помню, что драмтеатр надо... Оперный театр надо сохранить.
So Solyov had a Freudian slip. He says, sorry, this guy doesn't want to see Odesa destroyed. And Solyov is saying, no, we're going to destroy the city, at least the port zone. And then he says, we'll spare the drama theater. I'm sorry, the opera theater. He screwed up because the drama theater was bombed in Mariupol. Hundreds of Ukrainian children were sheltering inside. Russia killed all of those children. So he corrected himself and then said, we won't bomb the opera house. We'll save the Odesa Opera House and Ballet Theater. So thank you, Russia, for saying this is the one thing in Odesa you're not willing to bomb. But honestly, Russia's targeting is so bad, if they continue these attacks, more than likely they will hit the opera house. Here's a tweet from President Zelensky commenting on these attacks. Missiles against peaceful cities, against residential buildings, a cathedral. There can be no excuse for Russian evil. As always, this evil will lose, and there will definitely be a retaliation to Russian terrorists for Odesa. They will feel this retaliation. All those who suffered from this latest terrorist attack are being provided with assistance. I am grateful to everyone who is helping people and to everyone who is with Odesa and their thoughts and emotions. We will get through this. We will restore peace. And for this, we must defeat Russian evil. And here's a new character I've never shown you on the channel. This is the mayor of Odesa, and his name is Trukhanov. And in the past, he was once notoriously pro-Russian and held dual Russian-Ukrainian citizenship. But now that the Russians are indiscriminately destroying the historic downtown of his city, he's pretty mad. So he put out this video, and this is what he wants to say to Russians. One of the most terrible nights in Odesa. Mad neighbors again fired missiles at a peaceful city. One person died, many were injured, including children. Many houses and architectural monuments were damaged. The Transfiguration Cathedral was destroyed. At night, we carried out from under the rubble Kasparovska, icon of the Mother of God, the patroness of Odesa. Assistance is being provided to all the victims. Operational headquarters have been established in the fields, and our public services are working. And now a few words in Russian, so he's going to switch languages. Especially for Russians. If you only knew how much Odesa hates you. Not only hates, but despises. You're fighting against children. You're fighting against Orthodox churches. What can I say? Your rockets even fly to cemeteries. The Russians blew up a cemetery. During this war, you have been called many different things. Rashists, orcs, scum, and nits. But still affectionately. And you are just creatures without kith or kin, morality and values, and without a future. You don't know us, Odessans, very well. You will not break us, but only anger us even more. The strength of our defenders, multiplied by the anger and pain of ordinary people, will be your death sentence. Glory to Ukraine. Pretty well said. In addition to Odesa and the city of Mykolaiv, Russians are going after the much smaller ports on the Danube River. So on the map, here's the city of Odesa, this is Moldova, and this border here is Romania. Romania is a member of NATO, and Russia is now choosing to bomb the ports, they're much smaller, along the Danube River. So here's the video. I'll link it down below if you want to see the moment of impact on the grain silos. But the video was taken by Romanian citizens from the Romanian side of the river. This is how close Russia is willing to get to striking NATO territory in order to destroy this food and starve the world. Here are pictures of the grain silos posted by Ukraine's Ministry of Defense. Once again, the objective here is just to destroy food and cause famine mostly in the developing world, Africa, and the Middle East. Ukraine strikes back with drone attacks on Moscow and Crimea. Russia claimed 2 drones were brought down over Moscow, while Ukraine also launched a barrage of drones against targets in Crimea. So we'll start with Crimea, and I'm not giving away any secrets here, the Russians know this now, but Ukraine found a weakness in Russia's air defense systems. So their air defense systems were very strong in the north of Crimea, protecting these bridges and supply lines, and very strong in the south, protecting the port city of Sevastopol. But there was kind of a weak spot along the western coast. So Ukraine figured this out, and they decided to launch some Storm Shadow cruise missiles and drones coming off the ocean from the west, and they successfully hit a lot of stuff. Ammunition depots and command posts. Russia sustained horrendous casualties the last couple nights from these attacks. They probably will adapt and move around some air defense systems, but this was a pretty good couple days for Ukrainian strikes on Crimea. As for Moscow, this is pretty wild. We didn't think explosions would come to Moscow. Russians react to drone attack on their capital city. So here, I think, is the drone filmed by ordinary Russians in Moscow flying around their capital city. Now, the Russian Ministry of Defense stated they deliberately did not shoot it down, but instead used electronic means to jam the drones and cause them to crash. So one of these drones hit a commercial building. This is not a residential building. This happened very early in the morning. Nobody was in the building, killed or injured. But yeah, Russia jammed the drone, and the drone then smashed into this commercial building in downtown Moscow. There were several other Ukrainian drones. One did successfully hit a building for the Russian Ministry of Defense. So this is incredibly embarrassing for the Russian military. And I still don't know how Ukraine is doing this. I find it very difficult to believe that these drones are taking off from inside Ukraine and traveling over 500 kilometers through Russian airspace without being detected or intercepted before reaching Moscow. So it's very possible that these drones being produced in Ukraine are somehow getting across the border, or they're being produced in Russia, which is even worse for Russians, and they're being launched much closer to the city of Moscow, targeting valid military targets in the city. Kyiv states that drone attacks on Moscow will continue and increase in scale. So Western weapons can't be used on the territory of Russia. But if Ukraine wants to domestically produce their own drones or their own weapons, that's fair game. They can use those on Russian territory wherever and however they want. And for some commentary and some historical perspective on these drone attacks on Russia's capital, I want to share this clip from John Sweeney, who is a British author.
War Diary Day 516 of Russia's war against Ukraine. Early on in the Second World War, when the Germans were having a real go at Britain, I think during the Blitz, or it may have been later, Churchill told the RAF to go and bomb Berlin. This was very dodgy in those days. The RAF didn't have the kit necessary to carry this off without serious risk, but the Royal Air Force did it anyway. Berlin got bombed. No great significant damage was done, but a point was made. Hey, Germans, you do realise that the Nazis have got you into a ton of trouble. This isn't going to be cost-free. And in the same way, the Ukrainian drones, one suspects, they haven't confirmed it, but drones have attacked Moscow, including hitting, we believe, a Russian Ministry of Defense bot factory. Now this is symbolic, but the symbolism is strong and plain.
So there are a lot of Russians living in St. Petersburg and Moscow who support this war because they feel like there's no risk to them. There's no risk to their businesses or homes. So if Ukraine can successfully start striking valid military targets in Moscow and St. Petersburg, and the people, the oligarchs, the businessmen of those cities feel like the war is starting to come home to them, maybe support for this war against Ukraine will start to lessen over time. We'll see. Fighting flares around the Oskil River. Fierce fighting has resumed near the city of Kupiansk in an area Ukraine had liberated last fall and around a river that's considered a barrier. So the Russians are trying to get something going. The regular Russian military, offensively, has done nothing impressive since they took the cities of Severodonetsk and Lysychansk more than a year ago. It was the Wagner Group that took the city of Bakhmut. So all that the regular Russian military has done for more than a year is lose territory. Lose ground, lose cities. Izium, Liman, Kupiansk, Kherson. And Russia's MOD, their master plan, is to move 100,000 troops and 900 tanks to the rural area of Luhansk. So while Ukraine is focused on Odesa and Crimea and Kherson, Donetsk and Zaporizhia, Russia's trying to mix it up, and they're sending a lot of their forces to the Luhansk region, and their goal is to push the Ukrainians back to the Oskil River. This is the natural barrier that they want to be the new permanent border between Russia and Ukraine. And the Russians have made a little bit of progress on the map. They've taken some farm fields here and some farm fields here, but I don't think it's going to go well for Russia. They're pretty incompetent. And even if they do manage to take a little bit of territory in the Luhansk region, they're losing more every day in Zaporizhia and around Bakhmut. So in the last couple days, this blue area was liberated by Ukrainian forces. The village of Klishivka is almost surrounded. The Russians aren't going to be able to hold on to it for much longer. In addition, Ukraine is trying to get the village of Andriivka. Once Klishivka and Andriivka are under their control, this road, resupplying Bakhmut from the south, won't be usable anymore. It'll be too vulnerable to mortar and artillery attacks. And yes, I know I'm always linking Twitter videos, but if you want to see some devastating combat footage here on YouTube, I'll link this video down below. Footage shows intense combat in Bakhmut area. The battlefield is literally covered in corpses. So you're going to have to be logged in order to see this video because it's age restricted. It's 6 minutes long. And this video took place just south of Klishivka. So when they liberated this territory, I mean, there's just dozens of Russian corpses laying all over this road after a huge convoy got ambushed by Ukrainian forces. So Russia is taking horrendous losses, and they decided to raise the upper age limit for military reservists. Brilliant. For senior officers, the age limit for reservists eligible for mobilization. These are Russian men who served at some point in the past, maybe 40 years ago, and they are still going to be eligible for mobilization. But for senior officers, it's now 65. For junior officers, it'll be raised to 60. For enlisted people, it'll be raised. These are all 5-year increments. So for enlisted people, you were eligible for mobilization up to age 50. That's being raised to 55. For high-ranking officers like generals, it's going to get raised to 70. So yeah, Russia's totally going to start mobilizing 70-year-old men. Here's the first confirmed picture of US-delivered 155mm cluster projectiles. This is pretty fascinating because the rounds are stamped, and we can see this is the M864 extended range variant. So this can go 29 kilometers and has 72 bomblets inside. Now, the quote I saw is that the United States plans on sending about 300,000 cluster munition rounds, different variants, but if we just do some rough math, I love math, so I wanted to figure this out. 300,000 rounds times 72 bomblets in each round equals 21.6 million chances of hitting a Russian soldier with one of these cluster munitions. I don't know how any Russian soldier can feel comfortable with those odds over the next couple months. Here's an interesting graphic, the number of AWOL cases by year for the Russian military. So these are the official numbers publicly released by the Russian military for court-martialing their own soldiers who go AWOL, absent without leave. In the year 2021, before the war, there was about 600 cases. In the year 2022, went up to 1,000, and so far in 2023, it's already over 2,000. More than likely going to be well over 4,000 prosecuted cases of Russian soldiers abandoning their post, but I'm sure there's a lot more going on that just doesn't get reported or recorded, and there's no official records, but yeah, this is an indicator of how poorly this war is going for Russia. We've got some good news for Ukraine. Spain announces a new military aid package with 4 additional Leopard 2 tanks, as well as some other trucks and such. Thank you so much, Spain. Final couple feel-good clips I got for you. The first one is a Ukrainian defender showing some affection for his drone.
Что ты там? Бедненький, испугался маленький, да? Хороший, да? Ты моя золото. Сразу. Нравилось? Давай. Ебаша.
I do imagine that, considering how much Ukrainian defenders rely on this technology, that, yeah, they do genuinely care about their drones, comparable to maybe a small pet. Final clip I have for you, these are Ukrainian defenders currently doing their training in the United Kingdom. I guess they're, on a tour bus. I'll give you a second. Try and guess where they're going.
Вау, Стоунхендж, ти бачив? Ти бачив? Я вон Стоунхендж, дивись, ближ. Капець, що серйозно? Вау. Вау. Диви, вон британська череда.
Stonehenge is way better than Strawhenge and Woodhenge. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.